Alright everyone, today we're watching a program called Social Class in America. This is by Knickerbocker Productions, published back in 1957. So today, obviously, we're going to be learning about social class in America, and I'm curious where I fall into the social class in America based on this. That's my question going into the viewing of this program, is what social class do I belong to? And that's what you guys should be asking yourselves as well. But I think we have no way of answering that until we dive in. So let's start, right? Okay, so McGraw-Hill Text Films. That's interesting. So not Knickerbocker Productions. Sometimes these are collaborations between production studios, so maybe we'll see Knickerbocker at like the end credits or something, but that's interesting. Okay, so McGraw-Hill Text Films. That's what we're watching right now. Yeah, Social Class in America. So I don't know why it said it was made by Knickerbocker Productions, but whatever. McGraw-Hill, all right? All credit to McGraw-Hill. And yes, Social Class in America, here's the title. There we go for you. What I find so interesting about McGraw-Hill being the production company behind this is that if you read down here, McGraw-Hill is a book company, or it was a book company. Maybe it still is. But it's interesting that a book company is the entity that is funding like educational programming. It's interesting. I'm curious why. Well, I guess it makes sense that a book company would be into education, but I'm so curious about why these programs were even being made by the entities that they were. Dang, I love this little credit though. Correlated with Sociology by Arnold W. Green. Correlated with Sociology. Is that like, is Sociology a book? Back here it looks like Arnold Green wrote a book called Sociology, and then this program correlates to the book of Sociology. This is like the most unique credits I've ever really seen, or at least this one credit is like throwing me for a loop here. I don't quite know what this means, but I like it. I like that we don't quite know why Sociology is receiving a credit. Oh man, here's like a classic American school, I have to imagine. This really is what every like high school looks like in America now. Oh, that's a hospital. You know what? Hospitals and schools, I will say that hospitals and schools do a lot of the time look very similar. So, all right, that was a hospital, not a school, but you know what? I understand why I made that mistake. If you're from America, you know why I made that mistake as well.
Newborn American babies, newborn citizens of these United States.
You know, it's funny how they took two statements to illustrate the same point, too. Newborn American babies and, like, new citizens of these United States. It's like those statements mean the same exact thing. I don't know why we needed to say them both.
Free, and with rights guaranteed by the Constitution.
But look at these babies. This is like already great footage of just like babies from the 1950s, which I know sounds weird, but it's so fascinating to think that like this whole room of babies is probably still alive. You know, like these babies are real people who have lived their full lives at this point. What, this is 57? So these babies are like 70 or, you know, nearly 70. That's always something that blows my mind when I watch this sort of stuff. It's just how the babies that we are seeing now are like the elderly people of our time. It's so interesting.
But let's take a close
like this baby that we're looking at, like there is probably a living person that this baby correlates to out in the real world somewhere. Like that's just, I don't know why, but that always blows my mind.
closer look. These new arrivals in a typical American town have equal legal rights.
I love that we're talking about these babies' legal rights right now. Like that is so like American.
In class, they are not equal at all. Each has...
Oh wow, that was interesting. That's an interesting statement right there. But by class, they're not interesting at all. So I guess that's why we're talking about their legal status, because we're talking about how social class kind of supersedes legal status here in America. You don't get different services or anything based on your social class, but you do just receive a different quality of life almost. So that's an interesting little note that they just had there.
Each has a social status handed on to him by his family, ascribed to him at birth.
Handed on to him by his family, ascribed to him at birth. See, this is, yeah, they're hitting the nail on the head here. Like, your social class is pretty much dependent on, like, the social class of your parents, which I guess is pretty obvious. But it's just, I guess we're setting the stage, right?
Meet Guilford Ames III.
Guilford Ames III. I like that. I like how that's a specifically old name as well. Not only Guilford, but the third. You know, like every aspect of this guy's name. It's just an old person thing to do now. I don't know. I think that's hilarious.
The latest addition to one of the town's upper class.
Dude, Guilford is just freaking knocked right now. Oh, he's the upperclassman? That's cool. Or the upper class people. I guess that's not cool, but it's interesting to know that Guilford III. I guess that makes a whole lot of sense, that Guilford III is like the upper class member of the society. Like, just the name alone has like upper class, you know, aesthetics to it.
Guilford Ames II is the...
Guilford Ames II. I think that's hilarious too. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, obviously, that his dad is the second if he's the third. But it's just, it's so funny. In America nowadays, I feel like you don't have the seconds or the thirds, you know? I feel like this is definitely an outdated aspect of naming children that did survive until the 50s at least. It's just, it's interesting. I know people still do name their kids after themselves, but it just, I don't know, 3 in a row? That seems like a little rare nowadays.
Guilford Ames II is the wealthiest man in town.
Dang, all right, so Guilford Ames II is the wealthiest man in this one town. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy that we're getting to see inside the study or the office of the richest man in this town. And it's pretty bare bones. It's just a desk in the middle of the floor with one sad plant in the background and just like the cheapest like window shutters money can buy. It's just, I don't know. This is funny that this is a glimpse into the richest man in the town's office. Like, this is presumably his office, so this is where all the money that he has gets made, you know? Like, this is where it all comes from. And it's just, it's so funny that, like, this center of, like, the economy of this town is just, like, not even very lavish at all. It's just a desk in the middle of an empty room.
He owns a large factory. The Ames is one of the oldest families in the community. And so it represents prestige as well as wealth.
All right, we just missed a few bits of the audio there. They just got clipped out. That's just part of this downloaded. So we did lose a little information, but I don't think it was that big either.
This is where an Ames family has lived for the last 100 years.
So this house is like the image of wealth in America during this time, right? Like, if his family has lived here for 100 years and they're the richest family in the town, then this house must be like the nicest house in the town, which I think, again, is a little funny because in the America that I grew up in, the America of like McMansions and everything, this house isn't actually that big. Like, this isn't that nice of a house. Like, there are nicer houses in the place that I live right over here, right around the corner from me, to be honest, than this house. But it's just, it's so interesting that this is, maybe I need to see more of it before making that judgment, but this is just not the most impressive house ever for the richest people in the town, you know?
And this is where Guilford Ames III will live. Like most of the babies here, this one, Theodore Eastwood by name.
Theodore Feastwood? That's another, like, upper class name, if you ask me. They're probably gonna make him, like, the middle class person, but, like, Theodore, what was the name? That was whatever that name was. That was very, a very posh name.
This one, Theodore Eastwood by name.
Theodore Eastwood. Oh, interesting. Theodore Eastwood. So that is sort of like a common or last name, but it's also like, I don't know, Theodore Eastwood feels like, you know, that's the name of a person who goes to like a private school. I don't know.
Name has an ascribed status of middle class.
Has an ascribed status of middle class. It's funny how set in stone they're making these social classes seem, which is just so weird because I feel like in America, the social classes are like the least set in stone, really. Like, the social structure of America, at least I feel, is so fluid that like you really can't stay in the same social class for very long. I don't know, it's just making the social structure of America seem a lot more like cut and dry than it actually is. Like, here in America, you definitely can move social classes. You can definitely fall down and you can definitely rise as well. So it's funny to see them treat the social classes as this very strict, you know, concrete structure of American society, whereas I really don't feel like it is like that. I feel like there is social mobility. I guess that's the proper term for it, right? Social mobility within American society. So I think it is kind of weird that we're studying the social classes as if they are like a norm, and a norm that is not going anywhere. It's just like you can always advance yourself here in America, or at least that's what we're told. So to have strict social classes just kind of goes against Americanism, if you really ask me. But let's keep watching, shall we?
Father is Joseph Eastwood, high school educated, and a white-collar worker in the Ames factory.
Joseph Eastwood, he works in the Ames factory. He was graduated from high school. See, I always love that. I love how they used to treat graduating from high school as like an actually important, educational achievement, like whereas nowadays, literally everyone has graduated high school, I feel like. Like maybe some people haven't. Nobody watching these videos probably has not graduated high school, but it's so funny that during this time, having a high school diploma was like an actual certificate for a job, Like it's just, things have changed certainly since then.
He has a steady, skillful job and is comfortably off.
A steady, skillful job. I feel like that's a good description of a middle-class work.
But the chances are that he will not advance much beyond his present status.
Chances are he won't advance much. Dang. That stings to hear. That's so painful, even for this guy, even for Joseph, Eastwood. I feel for him. No chances to advance. Like, that's sad. But I guess he just had a kid, so good for him.
The mortgage on his house is...
See, this is funny because this is a lot more average of a house. This is like your classic American. Even this is a little big though. I will say that there are a lot of like one-story houses in America that are even more regular than this. But this is a good standard like middle class house right here. This is like, I don't know, I would call this a little upper middle class. Depends on the neighborhood really. If this house was in a really good neighborhood, it'd probably be like $1 million today. Whereas if it was in a bad neighborhood, this is like a $200,000 house. So it's just like, I don't know, like this is a good house, but yeah, it depends on the neighborhood, I guess.
Is on its way to being paid. And someday, it undoubtedly will be. Although young Ted Eastwood has an ascribed status of middle class, the better.
Oh man, we just missed out on some more audio. I don't know what they were just about to say. They were about to say something interesting, but we missed that, so oh well.
The status he achieves during his lifetime may be higher than the one he was born with.
See, that's what I was saying. Like, even if you are born middle class, there is always the opportunity to, weasel your way into the upper class.
It could be true to maybe David Benton.
David Benton? See, like, that's a more normal person of a name, I feel like, like the other names have been very, very posh, but the David Benton, that does feel like a guy who just like drinks at bars regularly.
Whose ascribed status is lower class.
Lower class? What does lower class even mean in America in the 1950s? Like, I don't know. I want to see an insight. That's really what I'm looking forward to seeing, is seeing the lower class family's house. This is the most interesting part, if you ask me.
David's father is Michael Benton, an unskilled factory worker who has a meager education.
An unskilled factory worker who only has meager education. So his dad didn't even graduate high school, is I guess what they're saying by that. And I wonder if it's the same factory. I mean, this whole storyline is probably constructed. This probably does not exist at all. The Ames factory or whatever, that's probably not real. Maybe it is, I don't know, but I have a feeling none of this is actually real, but I like to think that it sort of is. I have no choice but to treat all of this as if it's all factual, even though I know it's probably not.
Mr. Benton rents the upper floor of a two-family house.
Dang, a two-family house. See, that's so funny because there are so many two-family houses where I live as well, just like on the other side of the river. I don't know, I guess I am seeing the full spectrum of the American society.
In a rundown section of town.
In a rundown section of town, yeah, that's where all the two-family houses are for me as well.
The ability to rise from an ascribed status to an achieved one is called vertical mobility.
Vertical mobility, the ability to rise from one status to another. So I was saying social mobility. I think that's a better term for it than vertical mobility. I feel like that is just kind of a confusing term, but whatever. Oh, look at all these parents looking at their babies. See, this is another interesting thing. Like all these parents, I'm sad to say these are everyone's grandparents now, or everyone's parents. These guys have long passed away. But another thing I noticed is one of these parents seems to be an African American man, which again, I just love when we just get to see these scenes of like pure American diversity without like any reason for it. You know, like they didn't hire this guy as a DEI, oh, we need a black guy in this scene. Like he probably at least is like a proud parent of that day. I like seeing confirmation that America has always been this like nice, diverse place where white people and black people have gotten along. Like not always, not everywhere, all the time, obviously, but like at least in this scene, in this hospital, we're all getting along, you know? Like I love seeing preserved times where we weren't so bad as we thought we would be, you know?
Vertical mobility, and is particularly characteristic of the United States.
I will say I agree with that too. I said it a second ago, but the US and social mobility go hand in hand. Like that's literally the beginning of this country. The people who settled it, the pilgrims, like they came here for the exact same reason, for social mobility, maybe religious freedom too, but I would say more so in a bigger sense, social mobility persisted in America to this day.
There are class lines within each general group, and these vary geographically and in relation to nationality, religion, and race.
Oh, you know what? Maybe they did purposefully include this black guy, now that I say that. It's just like they had that whole statement lined up and they had passed by everyone's face, and then when they got to his, they said, you know, race or whatever. So it does seem a little staged, I will say that. Maybe that's the propaganda aspect of this all, is to make me think that America was like a perfectly functional society for black and white people back then, whereas it really wasn't. That's another little clue as to whether or not these were actual new parents in a real hospital or not.
Class exists in the United States as
like this guy's not even with anyone else, it seems like. Maybe he's with like a white person and it's their baby, but like I don't know, it's weird that he's just alone. I don't know, he seems alone in this situation.
And it plays a vital part in the life of every community. Let us follow the lives of these three babies and see how class affects them.
Oh man, I thought we were almost done with this. We're only 3 minutes in. We haven't even really started the thesis of the video, so let's keep going.
"18 years later..."
Oh, okay, so this is what high schools used to look like? See, that's so funny that I made that comment earlier, because this looks like a college university to me or something. This is not a high school. With these pillars, like no way. Like this is the nicest high school I've ever seen. Like American high schools do not look like this anymore. It's so funny that American high schools now look like hospitals did back then. Whereas high schools back then, this looks like the building that like would be called like the Treasury or something. Like I don't, this is not what most American high schools look like nowadays, which is such a shame because this is actually a pretty sick building. I wonder if this building specifically is still a high school though. I bet it is. It would make sense for it to be. It's a shame that I can't quite read the name of the high school. Does it say Madison High School? I think it says Madison High School, but that is in America a very generic name for a high school. So I don't think that really gives us that much more information, but it's interesting to see what their high school looked like back in the day.
Gil, Ted...
And look at everyone coming out of the high school as well. Like look at them, they're like wearing suits. Like there's no way these are high schoolers, right?
are in the graduating class of the...
Oh, they're graduating. Okay.
Gil, Ted, and Dave are in the graduating class of the town's high school. After the commencement exercises...
So this is what high school seniors in the year 1957 looked like, correct? Like they could be actors, they could be older. It just doesn't make any sense for them to do that. You know, it makes so much more sense for them to actually take 18-year-old boys and make them be part of this program than it does to hire somebody else to make it look like they're, 18-year-old boys. I don't know, I like to trust the program at least this much and believe that these kids are of the age group that they're implied to be.
The three boys, who are good friends, meet to say goodbye.
Oh, these are going to be the three boys that, we just met in the hospital. Okay.
Next fall, Gil Ames is going to attend an Ivy League university.
Gil Ames. You know what's so interesting is that they actually still referred to like the top universities as Ivy League. It's just, I know that term has been around for a very long time. It's just, it's so interesting to see the familiarity with like collegiate terminology already existed in this America. You know, like you could just say Ivy League and Americans already know to recognize that as an impressive, you know, academic accomplishment. It's just, it's interesting.
Ted, who took a commercial course in high school, plans to get a white-collar job like his father's.
Hang on, I thought his dad had a blue-collar job in the factory, and then the poor kid's dad has like an even worse job or something. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe his dad has the white collar, and then this poor kid's dad technically has the blue-collar job or whatever. Which, if you're not familiar with the collar job terminology, must be very confusing.
Dave is going to work too, so that he can add to his family's income.
You know, I know these aren't the babies that we saw like just a few minutes ago, but I really like to think that they are. Like, I really like to think that this program took 18 full years to film because we wanted these exact babies. But again, the story that they're coming up with, again, seems very staged or very not real. You know, oh, the rich kid is going to the Ivy League. Oh, the middle class kid is going to someplace, whatever. And then the poor kid is just going to have a job or something, you know?
Friends forever, they've said. Well, maybe in a way. But these boys come from families of different classes. And the lines of social class are real here in America, as they are everywhere.
See, the lines of social class are real here in America. I just don't, honestly, I really just don't know if I believe that. Like, I feel like, I know there are lines of social class or whatever. I know there is. I feel like it's something special here in America. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but you can definitely change your social class. Your social class, I guess, isn't based on any inherent attribute about you. It's just based on where you were born. Like, you can always change your life here in America. It doesn't matter if you were born rich or poor. Like, I don't know. I kind of disagree with that statement is all I have to say.
Everywhere. In Europe, in Asia, and even in the Soviet Union. As the years
Oh, okay. As the lines of social class are real in America as they are in Europe, Asia, and everywhere else. That's funny. That's funny how they are saying that this is equally stratified socially as every other society across the world. It's interesting because I would have imagined that the American production would have disagreed with that. I feel like this is already going against like the true American patriotism, you know?
and even in the Soviet Union. As the years pass,
It's funny that they said even in the Soviet Union, because if you understand like what the goals of communism were, it was to eradicate social class. So that was like a little sharp jab that they just stabbed at the Soviet Union by saying that even they still have lower class, middle class, and upper class people. So pretty much they're saying the Soviet Union failed in their goal to eliminate their class structures. That's a funny little comment that they made that I don't know if everyone would pick up on.
class boundaries will separate Gil and Ted and Dave more and more.
See, it's just so sad that they're treating them like three different members of three different societies, you know? They're just saying like, goodbye, like now that I'm rich and you're poor, like we'll never meet again. It's just like, that's not what America is like, you know? Or not what it was like for me at least. So it is weird that they are treating this social class so strictly, because I just don't have that sense in my mind as well. Also, hang on, look at these kids behind these parents, right? These are some knuckleheads back here, for sure.
The boundaries between Ted's middle-class parents and Dave's lower-class parents are as important as those that lie between the upper and the middle classes.
That's interesting. So the boundary between the middle class and the lower class is as real as the boundary between middle and upper class. I'm just like, what are the boundaries? You know, because I'm looking at the clothes that everyone's wearing. To me, this all reads fancy old person clothing. Like, I'm not seeing one guy's suit and thinking, oh, well, that's like linen instead of wool or whatever the hell. There's no perceivable like fashion difference here, not yet anyway. So I'm trying to figure out what the social classes even signify in this sense.
Even the simple event of graduation from high school has a different significance for the boys and their families.
That is interesting. So all three of these boys graduated from high school, even though the poor guy, he didn't, or it didn't seem like he had graduated from high school. So that's just interesting because I said, like, to me, it feels like everyone graduates high school nowadays. So I feel like that's starting to happen already here in this story, is that like even the poor kid had the resources to graduate high school in this universe. That's just, and that again just goes to show how there was social mobility in America, that even the poor kid could attain educational achievement. I don't know.
For Gil, it is only a milestone in his...
All right, so this is Gil's house. This is like the upper class. This is what rich people's houses looked like in the 50s. Let's see. I mean, it does look pretty nice. There's like a marble countertop coffee table. That's nice. There's all this junk on the mantle. I guess this is a big fireplace. I don't know. It's so funny because it does look like an old person's house. And like, it doesn't look comfortable, you know, like old people's houses, you can never touch anything. This does look like the sort of place that I would not enjoy being, just because it is like that old timey feel. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm in grandma's house already looking at this.
Formal education. Later that night, Mr. Ames has a serious talk with his son. Mr. Ames tells Gil that he sent him to public high school so that he could gain a democratic background.
That's a very interesting statement. I sent you to public high school for you to get a democratic education. I'm kind of curious what he means by that exactly.
But now he's about to enter an environment more in keeping with his social position.
Now he's about to enter an environment more in keeping with his social position. So you're about to meet some other rich kids. Like, that's kind of what it seems like he's trying to prepare him for. Like, you had some lower class friends, you're about to meet the rich kids though, so behave.
At college, he will meet men of his own kind.
Men of his own kind. See, like the language they use, like to describe rich people as like men of your own kind, it really does seem snobbish. Like even the narration comes off as snobbish to describe rich people as all being of the same kind. You know, it's just, that's very weird. Especially here in America too.
Gil understands, because already he has developed an awareness of his class, its patterns, and its rules. In another part of town, the Eastwoods have just finished dinner.
Okay, this is like the middle class American home. This looks like, yeah, this looks more comfortable. I'm already like, my heart rate is going down. Like I'm getting more relaxed looking at this place. This feels like home to me. Oh, hang on. Look at this wallpaper. This is a really nice wallpaper it must have been the mom who picked this out because there's butterflies. I like the wallpaper is all I gotta say.
And Mr. Eastwood is talking with Ted about his plans for the future.
All right, so the rich kid was going to go to college, so I wonder what Ted is going to do. I bet he's going to go to like some trade school BOCES sort of program, which ironically nowadays you would make more money going into a trade school than you would going to college. So it's funny how those roles have kind of flip-flopped.
Ted's record in high school was generally good, but there was one subject in which he excelled: drawing. Ted would like to do something professionally in the art field.
That's interesting. That is a total left turn from what I was guessing. I thought this guy was going to become like a plumber or an electrician, but I guess he's going to go into art.
But his father discourages him.
Nah, I love that. The father discourages him. No, drawing's not for you, son. Pipes, electricians, like that's what you got to be doing.
In the light of Mr. Eastwood's own experience.
But it's so funny that like the subject in school this kid was good at is drawing. Like, was that art class or was there a specific class for drawing? Like I have never had a class like that in school either.
Security lies in business and white-collar work.
That's facts, though. Security lies in business and white-collar work. Yeah, he's actually giving his son the facts right now. Like, son, if you want to have money, you got to start a business. Like, start a drawing business, but start a business. Like, you can incorporate drawing into your business, but start a business, son.
Ted sees his father's point of view and agrees that the commercial course...
This kid doesn't even look like a person who would be an art student. Like, this looks like another, like, football, soccer player kind of kid.
...as he took in high school have prepared him for office work. And so,
The commercial courses he took in high school prepared him for office work. I feel like this is the era of American history where working in like a cubicle in an office is like the peak, like stable job ever. You know, like that's what people actually aspired to have back in this time, back before they knew the drawbacks of cubicle working for, 8 hours a day. It's funny that that's the direction this dad is pushing his son into.
and so, that's the kind of job he'll look for.
Dang, it's crazy how during this time, that's how conversations with your dad went. Like, you would tell them what you wanted, and then they would say, no, you're doing this instead. And you would just say, okay, Dad. Like, that's how it seems like this conversation went. He's like, okay, I'll just do exactly what you told me then. Shout out to this wallpaper, though. Before we transition away, that's such a good wallpaper. Shout out to this kid's mom for picking that wallpaper for sure. Again, are these sets or are these actual real houses that we're seeing? I like to think these are real houses, like these are real families. Obviously, the stories are a bit constructed or whatever, but I like to think at least this is a real house somewhere. I like to think that wallpaper is real wallpaper.
In the Benton household, graduation from high school is an event worthy of celebration.
That's so funny too, how the poor family is actually celebrating the graduation, whereas the rich family, they just had a regular average dinner, Like that is another aspect of American society, is that the poor people will celebrate their graduation from high school a lot more than rich people will.
And a family party in Dave's honor is in progress.
A family party, that's so funny. This is I guess, an American family party from 1957. This is what family parties used to look like.
Mr. Benton proudly
Dude,
announced...
this guy's hair, again, the hairstyles, all the style back then. It's so old person coded now.
announces to the guests that Dave has already gone out and found himself a job. In the Benton family and among their neighbors, economic pressures are important. Dave's initiative in finding work is highly regarded by all of them. And his parents...
That is nice. It's nice that, I don't know, the lower income kind of forces them to be more, communal and more, accepting of each other's, I don't know, needs or whatever. It feels like they're all working together in this family, whereas the other families were just all right, you go off, do your own thing, start your own business, live your own life, whereas this is all right, everyone contributes, everyone helps our family succeed. It's interesting to see the differences in, I guess, culture that arises within different American families based on social class. It's an interesting, I don't know, relationship that we're noticing here. This is a good program right now. I feel like somebody could write an entire essay, an entire book really, just on this program and on dissecting social class in America. This is a very rich topic, I feel like.
And his parents are justifiably proud.
Dang, talk about fashion history. Look at this guy right here, the white t-shirt. I'm glad I'm still part of this era of fashion history right here. I look like a guy filling up a car at a gas station in 1957. That's that's my fashion trend for me.
4 years later, Dave, 22 now, has a job at a local gas station.
Dave has a job at a local gas station. So yeah, this attire, this costume, this uniform that I'm wearing right now, this is job at gas station uniform.
Although he's still only a gas station attendant, he's studying to be an automobile mechanic.
See, yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a bad early job in your life. Working at the gas station as a 22-year-old is not sad at all. That is they just said, he is working up to become something. You do have to put your time in at a place like this to really understand where you fall in American society, really, and then you can start climbing. So I think a job like this in your youth is actually more valuable sometimes than being born with money. It's just having the motivation to earn money is much more important than already having money sometimes.
The driver of the car is his old friend of high school days, Gil Ames.
Dang, that's Gil Ames. I wonder, are these the same kids? They kind of look the same. I guess they must be. It wouldn't make sense for them not to be. It's not 3 years later, so these might be different actors. I don't know.
Gil has graduated from college now and is on his way to start work in his father's factory.
That's so funny too, how you would go to college, graduate, and then just join your dad at his work in his factory. Like, what was even the point, I don't know. It's like you go to college just to work at a factory. I get his dad owns the factory, so he's probably getting like one of the best jobs in the factory, but it's still like you went to college to work in a factory. My assumption is that like no factory work needs an education, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I could be totally wrong. I could be exposing my, middle class or my upper class or whatever it is, my upbringing, but I feel like you don't need to go to college to work in a factory. Maybe the position that his dad wanted for him, though.
Dave is going to be married just as soon as his job of auto mechanic comes through.
That's hilarious, too, that the poor kid is the first one to get married. That is, like, again, pretty accurate, to be honest. Like, that is how things go. Like, oh, the guy who works at the gas station has 4 kids before the guy who, runs the factory even has 1. Hang on, what are they calling gasoline here? They say no lead, but is it benzenol or is it oil or whatever? Because I feel like we learned that term recently.
Gil's first day of work in his father's factory turned up still another familiar face.
Dude, the day when your dad introduces you to everyone in the factory as your son and their boss, like that's got to be such an awkward day for the whole factory, is when you obtain like a new higher up that is just the boss's son. Like, this is like, everyone hates that moment, right, where you have to now deal with the boss's son who doesn't actually know anything. It's funny that we're getting a glimpse into that here.
Ted Eastwood has a job in the bookkeeping department. Mr. Ames...
Dang, so hang on. So Gil went to college, probably didn't put himself in debt because he's rich, but if a normal person went to college, they'd be in debt. But then this guy, what's his name, Ted? Ted just got a job straight away. So Ted has been earning cash like for the past 4 years probably. So Ted, I don't know, Ted might be ahead of, what's his name, Gil? In terms of gross earnings, at least so far. Obviously, Gil still comes from a wealthier family and probably will out-earn him. It's interesting that Ted has been working for longer than Gil already. Like, I feel like Ted is senior to Gil in this factory at this point, but maybe not, I don't know.
...was taking his son on a tour of all the departments of the factory.
Dude, what does it even take to start a factory? Like, that's what I'm so curious about. Like, again, I don't trust that this guy actually started a factory. Maybe he did. That would be incredible if, like, this actual actor is the factory owner as well. But there were people who started factories back in 1957, Like, what does it take? What do those people look like? Like, how do you just start a factory? That's such an impressive accomplishment. Like, yeah, I run and own and operate and started and founded a factory. Like, that's just, wow, that is like, yeah, that's true robber baron.
Someday, Gil will take over the business. And today, he's beginning to learn about it.
That's so funny. Today, he's starting to learn about it. His dad has owned this factory his entire life, but apparently he's only starting to learn about it today. That's just like, again, that's another aspect of like the upper class where you don't actually learn anything important about like how to earn money or anything. Like, nobody bothers to teach you, like, this is how the factory works. Like, this is where all our money comes from. Whereas the other kid, I don't know, it seems like he's on the up and up. It seems like the lower class kids are more motivated to earn money than the upper class kid. Even though the upper class kid will earn more money because he has a nicer job. It's just, that's the social classes, I guess. Whatever.
Kind of rock.
Oh man, here's Main Street. Here's Main Street, America in 1957. So we have a garden center, which has like glass windows. That's interesting. And then we have like, I don't know, this is a very interesting glimpse into Main Street, America.
Kind of rocked you, didn't it? Gil Ames with his future all laid out for him. But you're Ted Eastwood, stuck in a job...
That's so funny how they know the person watching this is probably not upper class, so they just call us, the viewer, Ted Eastwood. Like, yes, we are all Ted Eastwood in this scenario. Like, I'm definitely not lower class now. I wouldn't consider myself upper class. I'm literally working right now. You guys are in my job, seeing me do my job as we speak. So I guess I am like a working class man, but it's funny that they assumed the entire audience would also be working class.
You'll be in all your life.
Like, they've actually changed the perspective of the narration to be third person into second person, a very rare use of the second person, but they are actually telling us how we are like, and we are like Ted.
Why don't you get out? What's keeping you here anyway? Mary Blakesley? You thought you'd marry her. But remember what she said that day in the car?
Dang, what she said that day in the car is that, like, he's poor and she wants a rich man. This is just like the American story right here. Like, I am feeling for Ted. I am Ted Eastwood, actually. Now, like, I am realizing it. You are actually causing me to realize that, like, yeah, these are very real thoughts Americans have.
Her car, of course.
But can't you see it's impossible, Ted? It's not just money. We live in different worlds.
Dang, that's crazy. That's like I feel like that doesn't happen anymore either, where like the social structure is so stratified that upper class people can't get with middle class people. Like I feel like nowadays you could get mixing of the upper and middle class, but it's so crazy to hear that people back then like were actually reluctant to mix the upper and middle class. It's just so crazy.
Sure, different worlds inside this town, but there are other worlds, bigger towns.
See, that's the thing. Like that train of thought that female character or whatever had, that is like a bad train of thought. Like I don't know. There are other towns. There's other places. Like this, the things that this guy's telling himself are very true. I appreciate that he's being strong of mind.
You've got some money saved. Go to New York.
Yeah, come to New York. Come on.
Give it a try for 6 months.
Give it a try for 6 months. I love that, like, going to New York and giving it a try for 6 months was like a thing back then.
And if you fail, only you're not going to fail.
Dude, I love the American walking on the street, like slowly encouraging himself to start his own business. You know, like that is like the Jay-Z New York song, like concrete. There's nothing you can't do, New York. Like that's what that's what this Teddy Eastwood is experiencing right now.
And Ted didn't fail. He had talent and the ability to work hard.
Thanks. So hang on, is this New York City in 1957 now? This is pretty cool.
He started with a job in the art department of a large advertising agency.
Oh, good for him. See, that's exactly what you need to do if you like drawing. Like, get into a business. But I guess, whatever. That's a good job.
They called him a production assistant, but actually, he was a sort of a glorified errand boy. But
that's really funny too. He was a production assistant, but really just a glorified errand boy. That is like, again, that is very much everyone's first job in New York City. It's just like getting in at a job, you have some sort of position, but really you just have to grab everyone coffee. Like that's funny how that still existed even during this time.
At least he was through with bookkeeping and close to the kind of work he liked.
I really hope this program ends with this guy, Teddy, entering the upper class. Like, I feel like that should be the conclusion, is that the lower class person graduated into the middle class person graduated into the upper class, but then that leaves the question of what happened to the upper class kid, Gil. Like, where did he like ascend to like a new social order or level, or like did he go back to the bottom? Like I would actually like that story. I think that's funny. I honestly think that's more true to the American like system than anything. Is like starting off poor, getting into the middle class, your next generation gets into the upper class, and then the next generation after that blows it all, and you ended up back right where you started. It's just like I feel like that's a very American thing as well.
At night, he took courses in commercial art and advertising and spent a good deal of his free time working and studying at home.
See, that's what I'm saying. When you're born into like the lower or middle class, you just have so much more motivation to get work done, to learn, to like go to school and educate yourself, to advance your career opportunities. It's just like, I feel like this guy is going to end up at a higher status than the rich kid started. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm rooting for him. Maybe that's just like my social class coming out, that I'm rooting for the middle class kid, but I really do hope he ends up living a good life.
In the years that followed, Ted gained a thorough technical knowledge of his field. By the time he was 30 years old, he was the head of the art department.
Dang, by the time he was 30, he was the head of the art department. I feel like that could just be, again, this isn't a true story or anything, but I do feel like in the 1950s, you could be 30 and like the head of like a whole team. You know, like I feel like nowadays you have to be like 50 or 60 to be like the boss of people in an office or anything. But I feel like back in the day, these sorts of businesses were so young that they were hiring such young people as well. It's so funny to see a 30-year-old rising to the rank of like the top person in this, advertising agency. It's just that's another interesting aspect of the times.
Of an advertising agency. Horizontal mobility, moving from one place to another.
Horizontal mobility, moving from one place to another. So that's not. I don't know. I thought we were talking about vertical mobility.
Has resulted in vertical mobility.
Oh, okay. So horizontal mobility, his ability to change from being like a factory worker sort of guy to being like an art director sort of guy. That was one change. And then, okay, it makes sense now.
For Ted Eastwood, a movement upward from his ascribed status.
Oh, okay, I get it. So the change from being like a factory middle class person to being like an art designer, ad agency guy, that was a horizontal move, right? That those two positions aren't really any different, but the vertical move is actually becoming the director of the art department, whereas he might not have become the director of like the factory or whatever. So I guess having horizontal mobility to go into a new emerging field like art or whatever the art ad agency was, has actually given him vertical mobility. That is interesting. That is like get into the new areas of, interest, get into the new technologies, the new fields, and you will rise higher than if you had just started in a field that was already established. That is another interesting socioeconomic strategy that they are revealing here.
To an achieved status that is largely the result of his professional standing. Class lines are drawn differently in a large city like New York.
Class lines are drawn differently in a large city like New York. Yeah, that is true. I wonder if my proximity to New York has affected my perception of this at all. Because I feel like, again, I keep saying like this doesn't quite line up with my perception, or sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm wondering if I've absorbed the New York City social class structure more so than the rest of American social class. I don't know.
Although they are still there.
I didn't grow up in New York City, but I definitely grew up in the surrounding area of New York City.
Here, professional standing.
Dude, I love when everyone's houses just look exactly like houses from today. Like, I know that's so dumb to say because all these houses are still here, but like, it's just so funny. It's just like they have a nice green grass yard. They have all these bushes. It's just like, it's just not different at all. I think that's what really surprises me. It's just seeing a world of like zero difference, even though this is 70 years ago. That's probably just like our houses haven't changed at all, like these houses are still standing, like it's not even that they haven't changed. We haven't even destroyed these houses yet. These houses are still like around. It's just funny watching something that feels like forever ago and then seeing just how recently it actually was. Like this, like to me, this feels like 100 or 200 years ago, but I know it's only 70 years.
Power and wealth are of great importance. It is possible for members of socially prominent families, theater people.
Dude, of course they're going golfing. Yeah, that's still, I like that. I like how that is still the thing that rich people do nowadays, is they just go to the country club and they go golfing. That is the rich American thing to do. and I despise it too.
And wealth are of great importance. It is possible for members of socially prominent families, theater people who may have come from the lower class, and successful businessmen of the middle class to mix socially. And Ted is an accepted member of the group.
Hang on, so what group is this? Is this like the country club? Like I don't know. They didn't really explain why all these people are golfing together, because it made it seem like this is a very eclectic group of people with some lower class people who rose up, some middle class people who rose up, and I guess just some upper class people who are just lucky to be there. But I guess, I don't know, I'm curious about why this social group exists.
But when Ted returns to his hometown,
Oh, okay. So he was playing golf with a bunch of like rich New York upstarts that some had started low, some had started high, but they were all in the same place because they had all gone to New York. But now we're getting to see him come back to his hometown where the social structure is still in place in the same way, and we're gonna see his reaction to this old structure that he thought he escaped. Like yeah, like he's returning to his town now, thinking he's in the upper class because in New York he sort of is. I mean, I don't know if you're rich in New York City, you're rich anywhere else in this country. You know, like to be rich in New York is to be the top of the top, really. So if he's coming back to his small town as a rich man, then like he is upper class, if you ask me. I don't know.
On a vacation. How does he fare? Has he anew achieved status back
Oh, is this the girl that denied him? Dang.
there too? When he meets the girl he wants...
Dude, nothing feels better than when you get denied by a girl for being too poor, so you move to the big city and get a job at a new ad agency and you become a millionaire, and then you return to your hometown and you meet the girl and she is so impressed that you've earned so much money. There is no better feeling, I'm telling you guys.
wanted to marry. Have things changed?
Dude, this girl looks like Joey King.
The town is small enough so that Mary has heard about Ted's success in New York.
Dang, yeah, that has got to feel so good. Like, yeah, I'm rich. Yeah, I earn money now. Yeah, I have a job in New York City now. Yeah, what are you doing? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't care. You don't got a job. Like, I so relate to this guy right now. Like, yes, I went away and I made a job for myself and I earned money and I came back and now you rejected me and now who's regretting it? You know, I think that's so funny, and so funny that it's an American feeling to be having, you know? It's so funny that this is like an American thing to be feeling, right? The social mobility afforded to people in America has allowed this story to happen so many times, where a girl rejects a man for being too poor, but then he makes something of himself and then shows her what she missed out on. Like that is such an American storyline, and it's so funny to see it here as well.
But this isn't New York.
Oh no! Oh my gosh, it's Gil's girl now? Dang.
Mary is married to Gil now, and although they are friendly...
That's tough. I mean, it's hard to regret not getting with that guy when you're also married to another equally rich guy, but it's just like, dang. Anyway, like, I don't know. That burns. That's some drama that just like stirred up my heart a little right there.
And although they are friendly enough toward Ted, he still isn't part of their world.
This is the Great Gatsby right here, right? Like this guy's Gatsby, this girl's Daisy, and this guy's Buchanan. Like this is actually the Great Gatsby. I can't believe I just realized that. But like that's pretty much exactly what this is.
And he never will be. In this town, the ascribed status of his parents is still the class to which he belongs.
The ascribed status of his parents is still the class to which he belongs. See, again, I just disagree with this. I feel like I don't think about that sort of stuff at all in America, and I feel like nobody else does either. Like, oh, well, you have lots of money, but your parents were like middle-class people, so you're just middle class with a lot of money, you know? It's just like, nobody thinks like that. Like, if you have a lot of money, you're rich. Like, there's no like, oh, but you were part of this group of people. Like, no, in America, if you have money, you're rich. Like, it doesn't care if you were born as the poorest person on earth. Like, if you have money, you're a rich person now. Like, this is so weird to see this sort of like thinking in America at this time, especially.
Ted's mother brings him up to date on all the town gossip, but he only half hears her.
That's so funny too. My mom used to do that. Like, this is really my story that I'm watching right here. Like, returning home and asking your mom, like, so what's new in the town? And she tells you, but you don't really care because, like, it just doesn't matter anymore. Like, I don't know. That's so funny.
The meeting with Mary has stirred old memories in him. He's remembering what she said to him about different worlds.
Dang, that's so funny that, like, he's not listening to his mom. He's just thinking about that girl that he used to know. Like, that is, again, very true. Very, very real to the character and, like, real. Very true to real life, I think.
He knows now that to her and Gil, He's still the nice kid from the wrong side of the railroad track.
That is like when you grow up with a kid and you think of them as like lower class, even if you exceed that eventually, those people will always think of you as lower class. That's what every American hates, really, is like working your way up, like earning more money than ever and still being thought of as like worthless. That's the struggle right there, really.
No matter how successful he is, his achieved status is higher than that of his father's because he has a profession. But that status depends on a place. In this case, New York.
That's interesting. So he's higher than his dad status-wise because he has a job that requires some very specific set of skills, I guess. But those skills only are valuable in New York rather than in this small town. So in this small town, even though he is richer and more accomplished, he is still lower because the skills that are valued are not the same skills that are valued here. I don't know. That's just like, it's a bit complicated.
Dave Benton, on the other hand, has changed his status hardly at all.
That's funny too. He's changed his status hardly at all. That's sad, I guess. I really thought this was going to be like a positive tale of social mobility, but I guess it's a realistic tale of social mobility.
He's now a skilled auto mechanic. And
Oh, well, I guess that is a change. He was not just filling up people's cars anymore. He is an auto mechanic. Like, that is a very skilled job, if you ask me. Like, I open my car hood and I have no idea what I'm looking at. So, like, that is a very important job for people to have. More so than guy who fills up cars at gas station, at least.
Although his achieved status is not much better than the one ascribed to him by his family, financially, he will be able to provide better for his wife and children.
See, this is what I like. I like that the middle class guy and the lower class guy can be friends. I feel like that's very true as well. Like, if I was middle class and I had a lower class friend, but they were working a good, stable job and like pushing themselves higher up on the pole, I would be nothing but rooting for them, you know? Like, I'm so excited for my lower class friends.
His third child, a son.
Oh, well, that's why you're lower class, too. See, that's what I'm saying, though. The lower class people just have mad kids, and they never have money. And then, like, it's just the cycle. It's the cycle of poverty all over again. It's so funny that that's revealed in this program as well. Like, already they know the cycle of poverty includes having kids when you're young, you know?
Was born in the local hospital just yesterday. This new Benton baby...
This is so funny. Name Benton baby. Date of birth 8/10. Weight blah blah blah. All right, so that's funny. This is just like a little note that you would get when your baby was born.
Benton baby has the ascribed status given him by his family.
See, I feel like the term ascribed status just like is wrong for America. Like, I feel like nobody actually gets ascribed a status. I don't know. It's something about that phrasing kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, it seems wrong to think of babies as like lower class people or upper class people, you know? It's like, I base my belief of people's value on their character and like on their actual actions. So it's so tough to like recognize like, oh yeah, this baby's higher class because their parents have money, you know? It's just like, this is so against my Americanism, I think.
He may, as he grows up, reach a higher achieved status as Ted Eastwood did. Or he may, as his own father did, stay in the class to which he was born. His vertical mobility will depend greatly upon him.
That's true too. That is probably the best statement so far. His vertical mobility depends mostly on him. Like, that is... Again, that is the mindset of the people who have succeeded already, though, right? Like, part of it is the society. Does this baby exist in a society that allows for him to succeed? And I feel like everyone who made this and watched this would say yes. America, especially during this time, was designed to allow people to advance socially and economically.
His character, his talents, and abilities.
Oh yeah, so I believe it depends on the character of this baby. Like, this baby can dig himself out of whatever hole his father or grandfather put them into. It's just like, will they? You know, it really is on the individual. It really is on the individual. But again, that is a very much an Americanism, right? That is very much the American mindset, that it's the individual, it's not the group, which is just, again, it's so funny to see my own thoughts reflect America so perfectly. You know, it's weird.
It will possibly depend, too, upon geographical mobility.
Depends also on geographical mobility. First off, I have been yelled at in the comments of my videos so many times for using the phrase geographical. Instead, people just want me to say geographic. But no, people, especially back then, also used the phrase geographical. So I'm feeling good about myself for that. I know that's not related to anything else I've been talking about, but like, yes, geographical is a term that you are allowed to use.
Because the criteria for class boundaries vary from...
But that is interesting how they are saying that the geography might also affect the class status or whatever, right? Because that does make sense. That guy went to New York in order to, improve his status. I guess it stands to reason that if you went out into the middle of like nowhere, Nebraska, you probably wouldn't be able to advance your status as quickly, but maybe not. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe if you went out to nowhere, Nebraska and just said, well, these acres are mine now and I'm farming them. Like maybe, I don't know, that's kind of a reset of the whole class structure. Like the subsistence farmer is like so much beneath even a low class American, like that's not beneath them, like, I don't know, morally or anything, but like economically, the subsistence farmer is like the origin of all of these. I just feel like this baby could improve his own status just by becoming a farmer. But I feel like becoming a farmer is actually like the one step that might bring you further down the social hierarchy than even low class. Like there's a difference between low class and like subsistence farmer, I guess. I don't know, but I like the idea of being a subsistence farmer, like, I don't know, being low class, don't want it, but I want to be a subsistence farmer. I don't know. I don't get it.
Place to place. And so it will be for all these babies. All citizens, all equal before the law, but not the same by standards of class.
Dang, so we pretty much just ended up in the same place we started, looking at these babies saying they're different based on social class. That's funny, this program has gone full circle now. Oh, okay, that was the end. I was kind of expecting a little bit more, but all right, that's the end. Produced for the McGraw-Hill Book Company by Knickerbocker Productions. Okay, that's what I was saying. So this was produced for the McGraw-Hill Book Company by Knickerbocker Productions. So I feel good about that. So this was made by Knickerbocker Productions. I don't know if any of you even remember that, but I said it was, but then we saw McGraw-Hill, so... But we got to figure it out. It is by Knickerbocker Productions. I'm glad I didn't misattribute that. The sociology film series includes Social Class in America, which we just watched, Our Changing Family Life, Beginnings of Conscience, The Age of Specialization, Cooperation, Competition, and Conflict. So I don't know if I have any of these in my collection, but I'll keep an eye out for them because I always like watching the things that are referenced in other programs. So I'll look for any of these and maybe that's what we'll watch next week. And the end, that's it. So that is Social Class in America. I think that was pretty good. I feel like we didn't dive quite deep enough into like all of the, factors that influence people's decision-making processes when, deciding what jobs to get or whatnot. But overall, I feel like this was a good summary of what the social classes in America even are. There is an upper class, there is a middle class, there is a lower class. The lower class isn't like starving by any means. Like you got to see the lower class family, like they're still eating, they're still living, they're still smiling, they still got a radio in their house, they still have a house, like even the lower class here isn't doing that bad, if I'm to be honest. So this is like a very interesting glimpse into the social structure of America, and especially the social structure of America during this time period. A lot has changed and a lot has also not changed. Probably even more has not changed, but some stuff has changed. So it's interesting to see the perspective of social class from this era and how that has since changed. But I will say, for the most part, very little has changed. Yeah, this pretty much was just the story of social class in America. There is no more analysis I can apply to this that like I haven't already. Well, I definitely found this interesting. Again, I feel like I did learn something more about American society, or at least like the justifications behind American society existing. I do. I feel like I understand the heart of America a little bit more by watching this. Like I understand understand why some people work so hard. I understand why some people are rich even though they don't work so hard. You know, like I do feel like I was given an understanding of American society through this. And I guess that's the entire point of the Yellow channel, is to gain insight into society. So I feel like this was definitely a successful watch. And if you enjoyed watching and would like to help support me and what I do here, you can follow the link in the description that'll take you over to the Internet Archive. The Internet Archive is where I get all these old programs from. So if you want to support what I do here, donate to them. And with that, I think we are ready to cut to black.